Good morning, Neil from Magpie Brewing. So, as promised, today is our first run on the new 3V system that I've built up. Don't know how it'll go. I've got to do it outside, so I've got a bit of a canopy up. And as this is the first run, it's going to look fairly untidy with hoses, etc, etc. But today we're only brewing a pretty simple pale ale / golden ale. So it's only pale ale malt, a bit of crystal, Citra, Simcoe and Cascade hops, and no bittering hops, so the first hop drop will be at 15 minutes. So we'll get this water on and I'll give you a look at the system. There it is in all its glory. So just a bit of a look at it there. So the Guten 70, I ended up buying the self-fit Herms coil and I've installed that into the Guten. The Guten still works. It might be alright for a single boil, but I dropped the small element, so I was having trouble getting it to the boil. But it's really useful now as a Herms tank vessel, so we use that one. The one wrapped in black, even though it's nice and shiny stainless steel underneath, is my mash tun. It's a 95 litre, and it seems to be, I thought it was going to be too big, and it probably is, but the 70 litre was unavailable, so I ended up with the 95. And then on the end there we see the boiler. So the boiler is a 70 litre boiler, and I've opted for a dual, so even though it's got element ports, I've opted for the big gas burner. And I must admit, when I give it a bit of a dry run, she boiled off 8 litres, so that's going to be something that I'm going to have to watch. But anyway, we can have a bit of a closer look at it if you like while the water is heating up. It's going to be much different, a fair bit of difference in brewing on this system. Going to have to pay a lot more attention to things, learn a few new things, and of course, you know, eventually I'll tidy all my hoses and pumps up. So I'm currently running 2 pumps, so the big fella there's a 65 watter. In all honesty, I don't think I needed 65 watt. It pushes the water fairly hard, and when I was doing the dry run I actually had it on half flow and it was fine. The little one there's a 25 litre with a stainless steel head, and it's pretty good. And I've just noticed that Keg King in conjunction with Blichmann have a triclover headed 25 watt high temperature pump, so I'll probably invest in one of those, I think. Okay, we'll have a bit of a closer look. So there we have the Herms coil settled in nicely in the 70 litre Guten. The beauty of this using the Guten is because the temperature control and the panel works, I get pretty accurate temperature, so that's why I opted not to get rid of the Guten and to keep it. So there's the connections, the in and out, so it just pumps from the mash tun and then up to the top. The mash tun has a spray ball. It's a good system, this Cheeky Peak. I really like it. It's solid, it's good gear, but there's a look at the spray ball. So that keeps your flow down automatically, and it's really, I think it's going to be really good for a sparge. And then down below that, there's my hogwash of whatever you'd like to call it, of flexible housing. I'd really love to get a stainless steel bench out the back here on the deck and run stainless steel piping for all the pumps and that, but that's down in the future, and I realise there's going to be a lot more cleaning with this system too. So there's the boiler, and you can see on the left hand side there that there's two 2200 elements. So I'm currently heating some mash water. I'm only using one element just to see how long it takes. There's 42 litres in there, so I expect it to take a while, but that's fine. And down below again, just how I've rigged up the flexible hosing for the pumps. So what I've tried to do is minimise the amount of hose changes I've got to do. So I've pretty much got it done. I think I'm only going to have to move the hose from, on the right hand side there, the small hose, that's a whirlpool port. And I think I'm only going to have to move that hose to hook up the boiler to the mash tun. So it's pretty good that way. And that big burner, she's a weapon, I'll tell you. I had to burn it off anyway. They say that the paint that's used, you're better off burning it off in the open, so that's why I done the dry run. So okay, we'll come back later and we'll see how we fare. We're just heating that water up, but very impressed with the Cheeky Peak brewery setup, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I've got my water now at this will be something else I've got to work on, but anyway, I'm at 72.6 degrees, so I'm going to transfer it into the mash tun. Now when I had the single vessel, I used to have the water at temperature and then just slowly lower the grain basket in. I'm not sure how to do this, so what I'm going to do, I think today I'm going to put the grain in. So I've slowly started it's only a trickle feed, so I haven't turned the pump on from the mash water transfer, and if it can slowly come up through the grain, it might alleviate those dough balls. So we'll put the grain in and see how we go. This is a fairly coarse grain mix for me. I'll try and get in there and have a look at it. The reason being, it's a rookie mistake. I've been brewing with Wyman and this is Voyager Valoria Pale Ale malt, and the Australian grain is a bit smaller than the Wyman, so one of the benefits I guess is I haven't got as much flour, but the other side of it is I think I've got some full grains in there, and I'm not saying just a few, I think I've got quite a few, so it'll be interesting to see what my numbers are. But we'll turn this pump on and get some water flowing up into that, and we'll get it going, not probably full speed, but we'll get it going in there and we'll start our mash. See how it goes. Okay, so just an observation while we're getting this mash done. Number one, Neil's not a know-it-all. So I used Brewer's Friend as a brewing program. Recommended that probably the mash water should be about 74.6. My grain was at 19 degrees. But know-it-all Neil thought, no, it should be at about 72.5. Transferred it at 72.5, and of course as a consequence, if you can read it, my ink bird is telling me that it's now at 65.8. When I first transferred it, it was reading 64.8. So via the Herms, after 10 minutes of transfer, I guess, I've already gained 1 degree. So mash was to be 67, so I will get onto it, but I have started the mash, slowly transferring through the Herms. I'm going to get a great flow, but that doesn't mean you've got to use it. So I've only got all the taps on about half, just so it goes through that Herms nice and slow and transfers its energy. The other observation, I used both of the 2200 low voltage to elements to heat the mash, and I tripped the power board because I've got to use a power board out here. So lesson number 2, you can use 2 elements, just use them on different circuits. As I fail, I'll let you guys know, and maybe we can all learn something on this journey. Alright, so finished our mash, and our mash went alright. It probably mashed between 65 and 67, but as I say, that was my fault. And then what I done, I bumped the Guten 70 Herms unit up to 70 degrees. That was to try and get from 64 to around that 67, which is where I wanted to mash, and that worked all right. So as soon as I seen it climbing fairly well, I just went back to 67. So the mash is out. We'll have a look at what sort of conversion we got on the mash. I took a sample before I bumped it up, and so point number 3 in this video, I suppose, is it takes you a fair while to get the mash out temperature, which I expected because I didn't hurry. I'm only going through the Herms unit. As I used to have trouble getting a look at the refractometer through the video camera, I went out and bought a Milwaukee. We'll see what we got. Okay, I had this before. If there's too much light on the sample, it won't read it. So we'll turn that light off. There we go, so I've got a 9.1. And this is in plateau, so we've got to convert that over. If I take my hand off, I'll see if you can see it. Yeah. So we show 9.1, and it's 33.4 degrees, but I am outside and it's actually 29 degrees here at the moment, so that's not too bad. 9.1, we'll do a conversion, and when I drop the video, I'll show the conversion in it. So back to mash out. So I've got 13.4 in my conversion, which I don't know, that'll go up to about 1.6.5, I suppose. We'll have a look, I'll convert it. But it's not a bad conversion for the coarseness of what that mash was. It's a pretty good conversion rate for that crush, I reckon. So now I'm just doing this slow fly sparge, so I've got to open it every now and then to see that it's a bit hard because it's got that spray. It's a bit hard to show you. I'll work out a way to do that without getting really wet, but I don't want the top of the grain bed to get too dry, because then I've got to rush it through. So we'll work out a way to do that in a later video. But anyway, so far I've just got it trickling pretty even, litre for litre-ish, and we'll come back when we got her on the gas and boiling. Okay, we've just fired up the gas burner, So we ended up with a bit more than we needed, or a bit more than the recipe. The recipe was 54.5, and I've ended up with 57 litres in there. So that's alright, we'll just see how it goes. As I say, first time, I don't think that's too bad, only 3 litres too much. And we can work on that. Nice clear wort. We'll see if we can get a close-up of it. There's that Nano X from Cheeky Peak Brewery, these kettles. Really good quality stuff, I feel. But there's the wort. That's after it's been transferred into the boil kettle. Nice and clear, nice golden colour. I know clear wort doesn't always mean clear beer, but it's a good start, I guess, isn't it? It means there's not much rubbish in it transferred. Might be the benefits of that coarse crush. See what the figures are. We might keep making rookie mistakes there, and maybe I've been crushing too fine all along. Or maybe the 3V system doesn't need a crush that's quite as fine as the Guten 71V system was. Anyway, we'll find out and we'll work on this as we go. So at the moment, with this boil kettle, you can see there I'm connected to 2 sides. So the clear wort is wort coming out, and the other side is a whirlpool arm. So I've got it whirlpooling mainly for the keep it going round and evening out the temperature in the kettle, getting it to that boil reasonably quickly, which it is. It got down to, after the transfer and the sparge, I did sparge a little slow, but it didn't go below the 1.3, so we should be pretty good there for tannins. That's another thing we'll work on next brew. And now I can bump this up, this gas, but man oh man, she's a big burner, this mother, and she barbecue you fairly quick. So we'll let it go, and when it gets to the boil we'll have a bit of a look at it. Okay, so we've hit the boil, and it's a bit windy here now, so the boil's a bit inconsistent starting. When it first started it was quite loud, but now I've got a pretty good roll and boil in there. I don't want to turn it up too much more, but I don't want to turn it down, that's for sure. So I'll just probably leave it like that. If anything, I will turn it down if it doesn't settle down a bit, but I don't mind that as a boil, and we'll just see what we boil off. I haven't tested the pre-boil yet, but that'll be in the video. So we'll just let this go for 60 minutes and see what we get. Okay, we'll see what our pre-boil is. Got to cover it with my hand because I'm outside, it gets too much light, but if I cover it with the hand, so we got a pre-boil of 9.1, not forgetting that's Plato, so bricks, so we'll convert that, and I'll put it in the video on conversion. That I would say is pretty good. Our whirlpool's gone alright there, so them hops in the bag and the other one's in a mangrove jack. My boil hops were in the mangrove jack hop basket there, and it went all right. I'm just trying to keep a bit of muck out, that's all. I've got the arm up off the ground, so it shouldn't pick up a lot of rubbish when we do the transfer. So I put them hops in at about, it was about 87 degrees for the whirlpool. It's only dropped to 80, so I'm going to leave them hops in there as I drain it. I'm going to drain back into the boil tun, boil kettle, just to try and get it to cool down a little bit quicker and easier, and I'll see how we go. Here we are back. So what I'm doing currently, hang on a minute, let me focus here a little bit. So what I'm doing currently here, I'm using my counterflow chiller as similar to a immersion chiller. So I'm recirculating the wort back into the boil kettle. So I'm doing this to try and get it down to a reasonable temperature, because I use the Keg King snub nose 60 litre pet fermenter. I don't like to get in there about over 30 degrees. Then I can leave it overnight in my temperature control fridge, and it's normally ready to pitch. So I found the last brew I done with the Guten 70 that I was able to do this, and a lot less fiddling around than trying to graduate hoses and feeds and everything, you know, as you put the wort into the fermenter and trying to get it at the right temperature from the go. So that's why I've decided to do this. I won't have to do it in winter, of course. I can get it in one pass, but being summer, I mean, it's about a 27-28 degree day today, and a little bit windy. So I'd be happy to get this into the fermenter at 30, leave it overnight, let it cool down to about 21, 22, drop some Verdant, Lallemand Verdant IPA yeast into it, 2 packets. I use 2 packets on a 42 litre batch, and let it rip. In the background there you can see my homemade counterflow chiller. It does a pretty good job. Didn't cost me a bit of, oh well, it cost a bit, I suppose. Nothing's free, but it's pretty good. Alright, so that was brew day. That's brew day over. My first brew on the Cheeky Peak Nano brewery kettles, 95 litre and 70 litre boil kettle, and my Guten 70 Herms unit that I've modified. Overall, it's been a pretty good brew day. We've hit some good figures, I think. I'll work them out and put them in the video. And of course, once it's fermented out, we better have a drink and a taste, and I'll just let you know how good it is, and whack the recipe up, and you might be interested in brewing it. Alrighty, Neil from Magpie Brewing. Didn't get a win this week, the Magpies. We got a fair few last year, and we're still premiers. They can't take that away from us, but by gee boys, gee, we need a win, fellas. Come on, go the Pies. Neil from Magpie Brewing signing off. Cheerio.